I wasn't planning to write anything more that night. The missed deadline had already left everyone exhausted, and the search teams were still moving through the Catalina foothills with quiet determination. The public updates had slowed, and like so many others, I was sitting with the uncertainty of it all. Then the call came. A trusted source, someone who has spent decades inside network newsrooms, told me that Lester Holt had spoken privately that morning. Not on air, not for headlines, just in a closed room at 30 Rock with a few longtime colleagues. According to the source, he wasn't sharing gossip or speculation. He was reflecting, carefully, thoughtfully, on why Savannah Guthrie has been carrying herself the way she has during this painful time. A different kind of strength. Lester reportedly began by acknowledging how unusual this moment feels, even for someone who has covered decades of national heartbreak. He spoke about Savannah not simply as a colleague, but as someone he has watched grow professionally for years. He described her composure not as coldness, but as discipline, the kind built slowly over a lifetime. According to those present, he suggested that Savannah's steadiness in front of the camera isn't an act. It's instinct. It's training. It's what happens when someone learns early on that composure equals control, and control equals safety. That doesn't mean there isn't fear or grief beneath the surface. It simply means those emotions are processed privately. Publicly, she remains measured because that is the language she was taught to speak in moments of crisis. The blueprint she inherited. In that quiet room, Lester reportedly reflected on the influence of Savannah's mother, Nancy. He framed it not as criticism, but as context. After losing her husband at a young age, Nancy raised 3 children with unwavering resolve. Lester suggested that Savannah absorbed that model deeply. The belief that strength is not optional, that forward motion is always preferable to collapse. Over the years, he said, he saw moments where Savannah faced personal challenges and responded the same way. Gather facts, steady the voice, keep moving. That blueprint, he noted, is visible now. In her public messages, in the structured way she speaks, in the order of her appeals. It isn't detachment. It's a lifelong understanding that when life shakes you, you steady yourself before you speak. The silence between statements. One of the observations Lester reportedly made centered on timing. The pauses between public updates have felt heavy to those watching. But he suggested those pauses reflect deliberation, not indifference. In his view, Savannah waits until she can speak clearly and constructively, rather than react emotionally. That pattern, he explained, mirrors how she prepares for interviews or major broadcasts. Never rush, never speculate, speak when you can add clarity. In a moment where emotions understandably run high, that restraint can feel surprising. But to those who know her well, it aligns with the way she has always operated. Calm isn't the absence of feeling. It's the decision to manage feeling before showing it. Professional composure, personal cost. Lester reportedly acknowledged something more tender as well. That composure often carries a cost. He described seeing Savannah over the years navigate professional pressure with extraordinary preparation and self-control. He also noted that such steadiness doesn't mean the burden is light. In private, he said, even the most composed individuals need space to breathe. The public sees clarity and confidence. What they don't always see is the exhaustion that can follow when someone holds themselves together for extended periods. His message wasn't that Savannah is immune to heartbreak. It was that she has learned to carry heartbreak quietly while fulfilling responsibilities publicly. The mother-daughter dynamic. At the heart of Lester's reflections was the bond between mother and daughter. He spoke about admiration, Savannah's deep respect for Nancy's resilience and faith. He suggested that much of Savannah's public strength now is in part a way of honoring that example. When she speaks with dignity and steadiness, it may be her way of reflecting the lessons she grew up with. That doesn't mean her mother demanded perfection. Rather, it means Savannah internalized the idea that perseverance is love in action. In difficult moments, she defaults to that language. According to Lester, understanding that dynamic helps explain why her words sound deliberate instead of frantic. Faith and forward motion. Lester also reportedly touched on faith. He described Nancy as someone whose spirituality emphasized endurance and trust. Savannah has spoken openly about her own faith over the years, often crediting her mother for shaping it. In moments of uncertainty, that grounding can translate into a belief that panic helps no one. Instead, steadiness becomes a form of hope. Lester suggested that when Savannah speaks about staying strong or remaining prayerful, it isn't performance. It's the expression of a worldview that has guided her since childhood. Faith, in this sense, isn't dramatic. It's persistent. A hope beyond the headlines. The conversation reportedly ended not with analysis, but with hope. Lester expressed his wish that, regardless of outcomes, space be made for compassion, not only for the circumstances at hand, but for the human beings living through them. He emphasized that public figures are still daughters, siblings, parents. The expectations placed on them can be heavy, especially during personal crises. His hope, according to those present, was simple: that when this chapter closes, understanding will follow. That composure will be recognized not as distance, but as one person's way of surviving something unimaginably painful. Seeing the whole person. It's easy in moments like these to focus only on what we see on screens, but behind every carefully chosen word is a lifetime of lessons, values, and relationships. If there's anything to take from Lester's reflections, it's this: strength wears many forms. Some people cry openly. Others gather themselves quietly before speaking. Neither approach measures love more accurately than the other. As the search efforts continue and updates unfold, perhaps the most human response is patience. Patience with the process, and patience with the people enduring it. In the end, compassion matters more than commentary.